Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley.
And I'm her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi and I want to welcome you to Open to Hope Conversations, the podcast.
We believe that the greatest gift you can give yourself after a loss is hope, using this moment to connect with others who have not only survived but thrived.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Open Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, today we're going to talk about permission to date after a loss. Whose life is it anyway?
Wow.
You know, I'm really excited about our show today because the topic is near and dear to me. Because as you know, I lost your dad a few years ago, and I had to give myself permission to date. So before we start, I want to give a big shout out to ABC for launching the Golden Bachelor and forthcoming Golden Bachelorette television shows. You know, Heidi, I think these shows are going to bring a lot of attention to the older generation. And the Bachelor, Jerry Turner, is 72 years old, and he's a widower of 6 years, and he's got 2 daughters and 2 grandchildren.
Wow. And Mom, as you know, there are 22 women who are competing for his attention, and they are between the ages of 60 and 75 years old.
Wow, this is amazing because there's this whole cohort who's had a loss, and we're really getting some attention now. I think Jerry and the Golden Bachelor is going to be a fun way for us singles in our golden years to revive the hope of finding a second or maybe even a third love. You know, for all of you, I hope you'll join us. Heidi and I are going to be watching the shows, and it premieres at 8 o'clock, September 28th on ABC, or the next day, if you miss it then, you'll be able to watch it on Hulu. And after the show, you'll be able to download our podcast that we do commenting on the show and the dating issues for seniors.
That's awesome, Mom. So in the spirit of fun and finding love again, my mom has asked me to host the next 8 single dating podcasts with she and her fiance of 1 year, Dr. Frank Powers, as my guests. They are better known as the Dating Doctors.
And here comes Frank now.
Woo!
The dating doctors are in the house. He's got his lab coat on and bringing mine.
They both have personal experiences with loss and a lot of professional experience working with people that have had loss.
Well, I think there's 40 each one of us has.
Absolutely.
Sitting in a chair, helping other people with different problems. And now we're helping ourselves and trying to help other people who are our age.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my first question is, how did you two meet?
Well, 3 years ago, Heidi's dad died of a staph infection after a number of illnesses. I did a little dating with somebody who I met in a grief group, and we played golf together. And then he decided my family was just too many people and he couldn't handle it. So he
Thank God.
So he ghosted me, and I decided, and he had talked about online dating, and I decided, well, you know what? I learned so much about widowhood. You know, I've always written to make sense out of what's going on. So I thought, well, I'm going to write a book on widowhood. So I was thinking about it, and I actually got COVID. I was in Hawaii at the time. So I, had some downtime sitting in the hotel room by myself. And so I decided to go online because I thought, if I'm going to write a book on widowhood, I, ought to know something about online dating. So when I signed up to go online, I've been staying with my sister in Phoenix, and a couple of guys got in touch with me, and I told them that I would have coffee with them, and I linked up with this guy, Frank Powers. And I found out that Frank, like me, was a psychologist for 40 years, and we had a lot in common. He was a sculptor, and we traded websites. And then when I got back to Arizona a few weeks later, I met one guy who
Dave,
and I decided he wasn't for me. And then my next
thank God, number 2.
number 2. So I came to it from a death, but you came to it a little differently.
Yeah, I have been divorced for about a year and a half, and I was beginning to feel really lonely, and I was thinking about, well, what am I going to do? I'm coming to the end of my career. is it possible that there might be one last love in my life?
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
So I was online and then I saw your wonderful profile and I said, wow, this is quite a woman.
And we dated, but it was pretty fast.
Yeah, it was pretty, because you had surgery 2 days after I met you.
Yeah, I was having shoulder surgery and he ended up helping me out and taking care of me and driving me around. So
The most fun I've had in a long time.
I love it. So why do you think there's such a big interest in senior dating?
Well, I think there's a number of different reasons that I've become aware of after seeing many clients for many years. One is that the average lifespan at 1901 was 46 years of age. And now
Mhm.
it's 76. So one
Wow.
reason is we've gotten 3 years more lifespan, which
Yeah.
allows us to be able to say that once we lose a partner through death or divorce, that it may not be the end. Maybe we are capable, because we have this extra 30 years, of maybe having another relationship. So
Mhm.
this is opening up a great deal. Also, the post-war baby boom, which is a huge number of people,
big cohort,
are all getting to be that age now, and they're
right?
living longer. So there's a lot more people out there who are in the position of being lonely and perhaps wanting to have a new relationship in their life, even though, the generations before them didn't have that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right.
In the old days, we didn't even think about finding somebody else
Oh, well,
again.
no, my mother thought after my father died, and I don't know, I don't think there is another person ready for her.
Absolutely.
And you know what? She did find someone though.
So there's more seniors out there dating, like you said. We're living 30 years longer.
You're there, you're lonely, you're just have opportunity. And when you realize now with particularly online dating, my goodness, it opens up a whole realm of the world. And once you decide you're going to date and put the money in for online dating, it also triggers something in your brain that, hey, I'm dating. And I think you enter rooms differently, you dress differently. It's just an exciting, fun time to regenerate.
And who would have ever known after being married for 60 years that you would find love again?
That's right. I was married for 60 years to the same guy, a wonderful guy. And how wonderful it is to find that you can have love twice in your life.
And
Absolutely.
even when you have a divorce, I really, in a sense, was bummed after the divorce. But of course, when I started thinking about it, I said, there were a lot of nice things about the marriage, and I wanted to
Mhm.
remember that. And I also realized that being with someone was far better than dealing with loneliness. So for me, after the divorce, yeah, for a while I wasn't ready. But after a while, I think most of us get ready, either through divorce or losing a spouse.
Mhm.
So how did you both get permission to date? I guess, Frank, you really didn't need permission. Well, maybe you needed to give yourself permission.
I needed to give myself permission because
Okay.
I thought, well, I'm an old guy, so why in the world would anyone want to be with me? And then when I saw your mother's profile, I thought, wow, if this lady want to be with me, this is not too bad.
I think that, giving yourself permission is the very first thing for any of us, or to really think that you can do it. But sometimes I think particularly, well, men and women can get a little nervous about thinking about dating. We've been counseling with some people who are thinking about dating. That's why we became the dating doctors, because people are so interested. They're approaching us now and talking to us about dating.
It's
And
amazing how
yeah,
many people have shown an interest in the possibility of dating.
then you have
Wow.
to deal with getting permission from people in your life, like your kids or whatever, because when you first bring it up,
Yeah, well,
it's
sure.
like,
I mean,
whoa.
this is a new thing. This is the first generation that really has the extra years and really has the health,
And
because
the
you need, and the technology
technology to
to
be
be
able,
able to
yeah,
do that, because online dating is a new dating process and it wasn't around when I was 30.
absolutely. And now, there'll be a lot more women than there are to men ratio, because the men are not living as long, and online it's 50-50.
Yeah. So women actually have a much better chance going online because it's the only place in town where it's actually even. There are as many men as many women online.
I think this whole thing with the Golden Bachelor is going to be huge, because I think it's going to, having an older generation. I know a lot of the older generation have been watching the regular Bachelor. It's a Bachelor Nation. It's been an incredibly successful series. And I think when they see older people like Jerry, I think I've got a picture of him right here. Oh my gosh, with his dog.
Wow, he's a nice looking man.
Yeah. And then look at all these women. How many women is it?
He's there with his dog.
Now, guys, don't get too excited. There aren't that many women out there for you as Jerry has, but there are women out there.
Part of giving yourself permission is also worrying about what other people are going to think. In other words, if I was with somebody that died, you're worried, you might be worried, well, people might think, well, maybe I didn't love my husband. Maybe I don't really care about him. Maybe I'm glad, maybe I'm over him. Maybe I'm glad he's dead, whatever it is. So you also have to get over that, because it's more important that you're happy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, kids, another thing, kids sometimes can have issues with their parents dating again. Let's face it. Whether it's from divorce or from death.
You were so nice about that.
Thank you, Frank. When you come into that place, it's like, wait a minute, I'm used to seeing my dad in there. He's not coming back.
Yeah.
Like it reconfirms.
Well, you can
that
feel
he's
like
never
you're being disloyal if you allow your mom to find someone.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a good point too, Frank. I never thought about it. Being disloyal maybe to my father if I connect with you,
Yeah, that's quite frequent. I used to see that a lot in my practice, where people would feel disloyal if they allowed their parent to be involved with someone after the death or divorce.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what else do I want to know about both of you? Let's see. What are your thoughts about Jerry on his backstory?
I think it's great.
Yes.
That gets into permission. I was looking at one of his interviews online, and I got a kick out of it. He said he has a picture. His wife died 5 years ago, and he has a picture in his closet of her and talks to her, and she gave him permission.
I love it.
And honestly, it is really important to get permission from a spouse.
And he also said his 2 daughters and his grandchildren are excited. But he's in the very first phase of the relationship.
Yeah, we'll see.
This
Things can change over time.
Is he just starting to date for the first time? Is this the first time he's dated?
Well, he said he dated a little bit, but
Okay.
this is really his first big outing, and he's gotten a lot of support. And he is so grounded and so wonderfully middle America that I think he's going to be a great example of what any of us could do if we put our mind to it and decide that we're finished with loneliness. And he said that he was.
I love it. Let's see his picture again. Get that picture up here.
All right.
Of Jerry.
Yeah.
So, okay, what do I want to say about Jerry? Very good looking man. You have to love dogs, people. I'm glad he's putting it right out there. He's got his dog around his shoulders.
He loves pickleball. Several of the women have
go.
already shown that it said something about, oh yes, we play pickleball too.
And golf.
And golf.
But
I
actually,
love it.
I both play pickleball and golf.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So maybe we can get together as a foursome with Jerry.
Those 22 women right now are on the pickleball court and on the golf course trying to get better at this.
There are women out there really practicing. Yes.
Hey,
Oh yeah.
I'll have to tell you that in my profile, I said that I wanted a guy who had a handicap and not a physical handicap.
A golf handicap. I love it. You put out there what you're looking for. That's a beautiful thing. Which women are your favorites at this point?
Well, there is a couple that really have stood out. Helene is really one of them, and April is the other. I mean, I saw comments made by them, and they really talked about their excitement, and they were very mature. They said, you know what? If Jerry isn't the one, this is really getting me excited about the possibility that there might be one out there for me.
Yeah,
and
I
think
love it.
that's the thing that I think will be most important that comes out of the Golden Bachelor.
Mm-hmm.
is that
They get practice
something else.
dating, and then they can get themselves out there. And if it's not Jerry,
Exactly.
it can be
There
somebody
is
else.
someone, yes.
Yes, absolutely. And you only need one.
That's all.
Mom, you've always said, look, if you're really ready to find someone, you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to work at it. You've got to spend time and energy
Got to
on it.
create some space. You got to have some fun.
You've got to get yourself ready. You've got to get yourself in a mental attitude is that life isn't over. Being a dog is not enough. Not that dogs aren't wonderful, but dogs are not enough. And that you can have human companionship and you can have someone, even if you've lost someone through divorce or death.
Yep.
What are you looking forward to seeing most throughout the season?
Oh, wow.
I want to see how he handles in a mature way, because I've seen the bachelors that are 30-somethings. And I think he's going to show a grace and maturity in terms of his respect for the women, how he treats them, and that he's looking for love, not just lust.
I like that.
And I'm going to be curious to see how the women are going to deal with rejection and how he's going to deal with it, how they're going to deal with the disappointment. And I hope that they see themselves as becoming more better consumers through the process, learning a little bit more about themselves. And then I hope that they move off as a show onto an off-screen dating
There's also
experience.
another thing very interesting enough I saw among the women. There's a lot more cooperation and less competition.
Okay.
The older women realize, hey, we're in this together. We want someone to be successful. And if it's not us, we want one of our buddies.
Okay, so there'll be no cat fights on the show, it sounds like.
I know. Apparently there's not. That's right. It's really quite different. No food fights or anything like that.
I love it. It'll be a more mature bachelorette situation.
I think there's going to be a lot of maturity shown, and I think it's going to be wonderful for people our age to be able to see how people are dating and how they are approaching it in a totally different style than they did when they were 30.
Absolutely.
That's exciting to see. Do you both really think true love can happen more than once in a lifetime?
Well, we're here.
We're here to say,
showed up.
We're here to say that we are madly in love, and it's a great story. We've been together.
It only gets better over time.
Yeah, we're past our first year, and it's very exciting.
Almost finished with our second.
I know.
Wow, time flies.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's great.
Lots of fun.
That is wonderful. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Jerry find what you both have. Well, finding love again.
I wish that for him too, and I wish that for everyone else.
For everyone, that they wouldn't be lonely, and that the people that are looking for love again will find it.
Because we can honestly say it's well worth the effort.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us today, and I look forward to having everybody join us on another podcast with Dr. Gloria and Dr. Frank talking about the Golden Bachelor. Stay tuned.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe.
I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.